Really? You want us to change this? I'll give you an early start.
Broadcast.
That we really didn't have to do it. No, I know, but I think the transparency. Let me know if I can do anything with it. We're good. Yeah, I just think it's. Okay, what you might have. No.
But we'll go through it first.
Yeah.
Rough and rowdy in there.
I'll check.
Get that others are listening.
Yeah, see, there they go. You muted it.
I guess Teddy's coming back.
Go get her. She's coming.
No.
Go ahead. We just
Well,
have to make
if we-
when they come.
Yeah, I've been told.
And if she's, we got the invocation, I mean, the pledge.
To the Board of Trustees of Blinn College District, regular meeting of
Tuesday, May the 18th. It is the appointed time. I'd like to make a couple of announcements before we begin our agenda. Public access to this meeting occurs in room 2 and 3 of the Blinn College District Student Center located at 651 Blinn Boulevard. Any member of the public who wishes to attend the meeting or make public comment at the meeting will need to do so in rooms 2 and 3 of the Student Center. As required by state law, this meeting is open to the public, but by telephonic communication. The college is complying with the suspended proceedings of the Open Meeting Act in accordance with sections 418.016 of the Texas Government Code. Members of the public are entitled to participate and address the college through remote connection. A live stream of this meeting will be available on YouTube. I would call the meeting to order now, and I'd like to read to you the Texas Government Code permits the Board of Trustees to meet in closed executive session for the following reasons: to consult with the college district's attorneys on matters deemed privileged by the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct, or Government Code 551.071. To deliberate regarding real property under 551.072, a prospective gift under 551.073, certain personnel matters under 551.074, security devices or security audits under 551.076, and economic development negotiations under 551.087. If the board meets in executive session, we will announce the particular section under which we will be doing so prior to the initiating of the closed portion of the meeting. I'd like to now call on the Reverend Randy Wells to lead us in the invocation, and Mrs. Boehm, if she would lead us in the pledge to the American and Texas flags. If you'd stand, please.
Let us pray. Father God, in the name of Jesus Christ, we thank you for this gathering. We thank you for a successful semester for the spring. In spite of the pandemic, we thank you for our chancellor and his board of trustees and our staff and students. We ask that you give us wisdom and guidance. We thank you for the celebration as we renew commitments as trustees. We love you, God, and we thank you. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you, Reverend Wells, and thank you, Mrs. Bain. Before we get into the work part of our meeting, we have some special little swearing in of our newly elected board members representing precincts 1 and precinct 4 to serve their next full 6-year terms. Let me first, I'd like to call on the Reverend John Harris, Dr. Harris, the Mount Rose Baptist Church, and is also a former administrator, vice president of student services here at Blinn College for many years. And he's going to do the honors of swearing in Reverend Wells. And so Randy, if you would join with Dr. Hensley and myself up here in the front with Dr. Harris, we'd like to get you sworn in.
It is appropriate to say good evening
Good evening.
to everybody in this room. It is my honor and pleasure to, pursuant to Texas Constitution, Article 16, Section 1A, to administer the oath of office for service on the Board of Trustees of the Blinn College District. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Randy Wells,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of Blinn College trustee of the state of Texas,
of Blinn College trustee of the state of Texas,
and I will do to the best of my ability,
and I will do to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Trustee Wells. We're so proud of you. And would you like to invite, we'll take a couple of pictures with the 4 of us. And if you'd like to invite family after that, we'll add some additional pictures.
All right, I'll count to 3 and take a photo. And 1, 2, 3. And just one more time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
I'd like to ask my wife and my son, Sean.
All right, I'll count to 3 again. And 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3.
And lastly, my mom, who is Shirley Harris.
And 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much.
I knew I was going to do that. Trustee Naylor.
of honor and pleasure pursuant to the Texas Constitution, Article 16 and Section 1A, to administer the oath of office for service on the Board of Trustees of the Blinn College District. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Rebecca Ehlert,
I, Rebecca Ehlert,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of Blinn College Trustee of the State of Texas
of Blinn College Trustee of the State of Texas
and will do to the best of my ability
and will do to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United
and
States
of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
All right, and 1, 2, 3. And one more time. 1, 2, 3. All right, and 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We now have our new board members sworn in and ready to go. We have one other item that we need to take care of. A little housekeeping for the trustees. In May of the year of swearing in the new trustees, we also elect officers. We now move to item 4 on our agenda, with this is the election of the officers for 2-year terms for the period of May 2021 through May 2023, in accordance with the board policies. 3 officers, these positions are designated: the chair, vice chair, and the secretary. I will now ask Reverend Wells if he would entertain a motion for the election of all 3 positions.
It is my honor to move that we accept the executive slate of officers of Jim Colcourse as chairman of our Blinn Board of Trustees, Dr. Dennis Crossan as our vice chair, and Charles Mosier as our secretary.
And Mrs. Ehlert, would you give me a second on that?
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations to Mr. Colcourse. I tell you, we're now going to take I think everyone would like, we'd take a 20-minute break. We'd like to have opportunity for everyone to visit with the families and friends of our trustees that are here, as well as the elected officers. And I would like to say in conclusion, before we are, that I'd like to recognize Mrs. Bain, who has served as secretary for the last 2 years and done a great job, and we appreciate, Teddy, your good work. I'd also like to say that I've been my pleasure and enjoyment to be serving as chair for the last 4 years, and it's been really a great process and learning process and great fun, and I think we have accomplished a great deal, and I want to thank the trustees for their support. I think we've been a very cooperative and supportive group, and the administration's been great. I think that I just want to say that it's one of the most enjoyable little projects that I've had in my lifetime, and I've enjoyed it a great deal. So we're saying all that. Now I'd like to go ahead and say we're going to adjourn.
Thank you, thank you. Chairman Mosier, on behalf of the College District and other Blinn trustees, I am honored to present this plaque to you in grateful appreciation and recognition of your devoted service and outstanding leadership as Chair of the Blinn College District Board of Trustees.
And 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3.
All right, let's take a 20-minute break. Go have some drink, food, nourishment, and it's 5:47. 6:05. How about that? 6:05. 6:05.
Can you hear us?
Yes. We can hear you, Joe.
He's very happy.
You don't have me to kick around anymore, buddy.
The board will now reconvene in open session at 6:05. The board will now move to public comment. I have been notified, no public comment. Very good. At this time, I'm going to call on Dr. Hensley to provide her administrative report.
Thank you, Chair Colkhorst, and good evening again, everyone. I'd like to congratulate Trustees Wells and Ayler on their reelection and to welcome our new board officers. I also would like to thank Trustees Mosier, Colkhorst, and Boehm for your friendship, your guidance, and your support during your terms of office as board chairs, or excuse me, as board officers. All right, trustees, let's go to the full report. And if I can draw your attention to the screen, please. I'd like to begin by talking about the men's and women's golf team. Recently, Blinn's men and women's golf teams competed in the NJCAA championships for the first time in the history of both programs. The women's golf team placed 13th at the national tournament, shooting a 4-round total of 1,471. Cheyenne Soda led the Buccaneers with a score of 337. The men's team tied for 19th place with a 4-round total of 1,136. And Cameron Gray led the Buccaneers with a score of 301. Congratulations to Athletic Director Scott Schumacher and to Head Coach David Johnson on a really great, outstanding season. And once again, trustees, I have some recent awards and recognitions to share with you. Earlier this month, Blinn was ranked number 2 among Houston area vocational nursing programs by bestvalueschools.org. In recognizing Blinn's vocational nursing program, the website commended Blinn's hands-on instruction and the opportunity for students to earn their vocational nursing certificate or obtain a certified nurse aide occupational skills award. As you know, trustees, the vocational nursing program will have a new home in the fall when it moves to our science, technology, engineering, and innovation building. And I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Vice Chancellor Jay Anderson for Health Sciences, Technical Education, and Community Programs, as well as Michelle Trubenstein, Dean of Health Sciences, and Michelle Marburger, Vocational Nursing Program Director. Bestvalueschools.org also recognized Blinn's associate degree in economics, ranking the program number 10 in the nation, based upon criteria that included the cost of tuition per credit hour and the program enrollment. Blinn's associate degree in economics is offered online and at all 5 Blinn campuses, and it is designed for transfer to a full-year bachelor's degree program. I'd like to congratulate Dr. Charles Smith, Dean of Business and Mathematics, and Marshall Rich, Assistant Dean for Business. In addition to these academic accolades, Blinn's Marketing and Communications Department recently won 2 Collegiate Advertising Awards for publications marketing Blinn's athletics and our engineering programs. Blinn received the Gold Award for its 2019-20 Winter-Spring Athletics Recruiting Guide, previewing the baseball, softball, men's and women's basketball, and men's and women's golf seasons. We also received the Silver Award for presentation folder describing Blinn's engineering department and describing the pathways available to students, including the Associate of Science degree in engineering, the Texas A&M Engineering Academy at Blinn Brenham, and the Texas A&M Engineering at Blinn program. Congratulations to Rich Bray, Director of Communications, Media Relations, and Marketing, and to Darla Arter, Assistant Director of Marketing and Creative Services. And speaking of marketing, trustees, you may recently have seen, and I'm holding it up and you can also see it on the screen. You may recently have seen this guide. It's a 4-page registration guide, and it was inserted into the Brenham Banner Press. It's designed to share information about Blinn's campuses and programs while showing how easy it is to apply and register. Now, trustees, this publication will also appear in other newspapers in our service area in the days to come. And now on to our new partnership with Tarleton State. Last Wednesday, Dr. James Hurley, president of Tarleton State University, came to the Rellis campus to announce that Tarleton has selected Blinn for its Distinguished College Partnership. Through this program, Blinn students who transfer to Tarleton and meet the program requirements, including a 3.0 GPA, are eligible to receive an annual scholarship in the amount that ranges from $500 to $2,000. Now, due to the limited number of scholarships available, Tarleton has only invited select two-year colleges to partner in this program, and they very much proactively reached out to Blinn to invite us to participate, and we were thrilled to do so. And Blinn was selected for the Distinguished College Program due to our longstanding success as an academic transfer institution. And it also builds upon the collaboration between Blinn and Tarleton that is already in place and taking place actively at the Rellis campus. And more good news. Trustees, last Thursday, we participated in a virtual ceremony in which the Texas Workforce Commission presented a $287,500 grant to the Blinn College District, the Fujifilm Diosynth Biotechnologies, the GCON Manufacturing, Coppers, and Silver Sage Assisted Living and Memory Care. This grant allows Blinn to provide specialized training to 187 of the partner company's employees in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this training is very broad. It includes courses in blood-borne pathogens, certified nurse aid with clinicals, COVID-19 safety, CPR first aid, dementia, Alzheimer's disease care and treatment, electrical troubleshooting, fire safety, industrial safety, and industrial truck and scissor lift operations. Congratulations to Jay Anderson, Vice Chancellor for Health Sciences, Technical Education and Community Programs, and Carla Flanagan, Dean of Technical and Community Education, for their work to support local companies and their employers. And now for a facilities update. On the Brenham campus, in regards to the STEI building, construction is underway. It remains on schedule for opening in the fall of 2021 semester. The interior work, including the casework and the flooring, continues to progress. The exterior masonry work and glazing are nearing completion, and the exterior side work has begun, including the retaining walls and the sidewalks. At the P3 student housing facility, construction remains on schedule for substantial completion in June 2022 and final completion in time for the fall 2022 semester. Current activities include completion of the concrete slab for buildings A and B, the erection of stair towers, and installation of the stabilized base in the parking lot areas. And at Leo Dreyer Field, the schematic design is complete, and an action item authorizing the college to proceed is on this evening's agenda. This project is scheduled for completion for the fall 2022 semester. Demolition of the Spencer Field House will begin on May the 24th, and Vaughn Construction will begin Spencer block updates once demolition is complete. The west wing of the classroom building will be renovated to accommodate the football locker room, shower, training room, and laundry room prior to football returning in August. Trustees, also an update on our winter storm repairs. We continue to conduct repairs following the February winter storm that damaged, as you recall, a number of our campus facilities. At the old main building on the Brenham campus, the remediation contractor is demolishing the damaged areas within the building and investigating the extent of the water damage. Removal of water damaged plaster and wall paint began last week. Once the paint and the plaster are removed, the contractor will perform a thorough cleaning of all of the surfaces. At Wheeler Hall, the architect and contractor have generated a preliminary renovation scope. The initial renovation price is under review, and as pricing is finalized, the work will be procured. And then at the Bryan campus buildings D and G, all of the remediation demolition is complete and construction pricing is being presented to insurance for approval. And then at the Rellis campus, the building footprint has been excavated and the foundation system is in progress. This facility is scheduled to open for fall of 2022. And trustees, Dr. Diane Lovell, Vice Chancellor for Student Services, recently was named the president of Southwestern Oklahoma State University. This was truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Dr. Lovell to serve at the institution where her father served as chair of the biology department and her mother taught home economics. As a result, I am both sad but happy to say that Dr. Lovell will assume her new duties this summer, and this will be her last meeting to attend the Blinn Board of Trustees agenda. And she will be leaving Blinn after 9 years of service at Blinn College. Dr. Lovell came to Blinn in 2012. She was Dean of Social Sciences, where she oversaw the college's district's anthropology, criminal justice, geography, government, history, legal assistant, psychology, and sociology programs. She served as a history professor for 5 years, and in July 2020, she was named Vice Chancellor for Student Services, where she has played a key role in our response to the COVID-19 pandemic. At this time, I would like to present Vice Chancellor Lovell with symbols of our appreciation and to thank her for all that she has done for Blinn College and our students. Dr. Lovell, won't you come forward and join Chair Colkhorst and me for a photo in front of the dais? And trustees, if I could ask you if you would center around this part so that we could get a total picture together. This one is hard to say for this, but I'm so thrilled for you. They could not have made a better choice. And we want you to know that we're here for you. If you need us anymore, please come back and call us anytime, that we're here to support. But we send you with God's graces and best wishes and much love and many hugs for a wonderful career as president. I'm so proud of you. On behalf of all of us at Blinn College, may I have a distinct honor of presenting you with the forehead. And I believe Chair Colkhorst would also like to make some comments.
We've got a little flag for you here, which obviously doesn't do justice to what you did for Blinn. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And 1, 2, 3. And one more time. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Chair Colkhorst, that concludes my report, and I'll return the podium back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hensley. Good, lot of great things going on here at Blinn. And I think we're going to next move on to the presentation of the financial statement package for the period ending April the 30th. Mr. Cervantes, you may proceed.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question before he starts on the Wheeler dorm? Are we going to have that ready before next fall?
Yes, Richard, do you want to make any comment, please? If so, please come forward and speak into the mic. Thank you.
An update on Wheeler. We have received insurance approval for the cost estimates. The contractor has started the build back, and right now we're scheduled to be finished mid-August to be back in that space.
Good. So are we going, we're trying to rent those, don't rent them, but make those rooms available for students already? Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Richard.
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Ansley, members of the board. This is the April report, which puts us 8 months through the fiscal year, 67% of the way through. Our revenue and expenses for this year, we're showing a little bit over $102 million in revenue. Our expenses are at 74 million, so our net is $28.3 million. A big portion of that is tied into the federal funds that there's $16 million, $16.8 million that's in that other category. So it's a big portion of it. When we compare our operating changes to last year, our revenues, 102 compared to 91.4, and so it's $11 million more, again, because of the federal money. Our total expenditures are down $1.1 million compared to last year. And our net increase is at 28.2 compared to $16 million that we had last year, so almost $12 million more. And our expectation is that's going to grow even some more. The comparisons by source are really difficult because of that other category in the far right. It just kind of distorts things, but we are down in the auxiliaries. And when we compare our tuition fees revenue to our budget, we're almost at 100%. I would expect by the end of May, we'll probably hit the 100%. But when we compare that to the previous, we've moved the budget down so low compared to what we had before. That's a big reason why. Our tuition revenue, all of the tuition is down in district, out of state, $2.2 million. Our fees up slightly. Our general fees are down, but have been offset by the course fees that we had for the distance ed. And workforce is doing very well. $852,000 is $58,000 less than last year, but they've been making some inroads. Comparing our housing and food service revenue to budget, we budgeted $9.4 million, which is 6.4, which is 69% of our budget. Our auxiliary services revenue, again, all of these are down. Housing, food service, bookstore, parking, to $2.6 million. We hope to turn that around next year. Our total expenses, as I said, are down by $1.1 million. E&G is the largest part of $2.3 million, or $2.3 million. Debt service is up, which is offsetting that. Again, I mentioned the fact that we had a couple bond issuances that are affecting that. I'm pleased to note that of the $1.1 million that are salaries and wages are still the largest part, 72%, but very close to where we were last year as a percentage. You can see on the far left, the salaries and benefits, 71.6 compared to 71%. E&G is down largely because of utilities and travel that were not included. Also, this is also distorted because R&R, we did not budget out of this. And I've mentioned the debt service is higher. Our operating expense comparison by function is $2.6 million down, 3.9% for all the reasons that I just mentioned, the travel, utilities, not having the face-to-face things. We're not having as much as expense. So for the month of April, for student cash and refunds, we received $3.6 million. The two items on the left, the CARES grant funding, $294,000, it's in and out. That's for funding that we're given to students. We did issue refunds of $1.2 million to students, and students gave us $4.9 million of payments. We had to give a little bit of money back to the Department of Education is at the top, $89,000. Other cash receipts in April totaled $10.2 million. State appropriations, 2.3. We paid ourselves back for some of the bond funds that we drew down, $3.8 million. The federal money, almost $4 million in the grants for institutional purposes that we were able to get in here. And then we had a small amount for grants and interest. Our use of cash in April, we did make a bond payment at the beginning of April, almost $2 million. Construction is 3.8. Far right payroll continues to be the largest one, as we would expect. So bottom line is we had $3.6 million that came in from students, and then from other sources, another 10.2. But we ended up using $14 million. So we had a net decrease in cash, slight amount, $81,000. I'll show you in a little bit the increase in TD Ameritrade. We pulled out some of the money of the investment pools to create some additional reserves. So on the bottom of this, you'll see two auxiliary projects reserve and technology project reserves. These are new reserves that we have just established. The auxiliary projects reserves are money that was given to us from Mill Creek from last year that we have put into a pot and are going to make it available for auxiliary projects. We also created a technology projects reserve of $2 million. We have a very sizable unrestricted cash of $112.5 million. We started out, just so you know, at 99.5. That was in September. And when we compare that to way back, we've made a lot of progress in that area, mostly because of the grants. Speaking of which, we have used up the CARES money as we had by the end of April. The Carissa student grants, they give us another $7.1 million. At the end of April, we'd used up almost $6 million of that. I was told yesterday that we probably have about $250,000 left of that. So they've spent some more in the month of May. We're making our way there, trying to clear it out for the next round. Institutional strengthening, we used all of the CARES money and then Carissa, we haven't quite gotten there. $12.3 million. We've only expended 8.1. We expect also that we will use all of that up very quickly. It may be May, it may be June, but we have a plan of $4.1 million is left. We're going to be able to use it all up certainly before the end of the year. Stand for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Does anyone have any questions? I got a couple of questions on that CARES or that H word. I didn't catch what you called it. That acronym is. So you're expecting that again soon? Is it or another round?
Another round. Yes.
About how much are you thinking it's going to be?
We were notified, Dr. Krausen, that there would be, I think it was around $33 million. Yes, it's $33 million. So what they do is the Department of Education puts that in a placeholder for us, saying it's available for you whenever you want to spend down on that. After you spend your money, we'll reimburse that. We do that the same day so we don't lose anything. Right. But they haven't placed that money there yet. But they've told us it's available. They've told us how much we're going to get. They've told us that 51% of it would be available for student grants. So the $7 million that you see here for student grants for each of the other two, they've doubled that number for students. And then they've done the same thing for institutional strengthening. We're essentially going to have another $16 million.
Is there any restrictions on that institutional
yes.
bucket there?
Yes, sir. You have, you can use it for lost revenue. These are some of the areas that we're looking at. You can use it. You can use it for any of a PPE that you need, but we're pretty much set there. The lost revenue is probably the biggest one. So we still have some outstanding revenue. We haven't taken all of the lost revenue that we had for the fall. So we plan on using all that up. But I think that's going to be used up for the second round, the Carissa. But So we're putting together our numbers to have a plan in place to be able to use hopefully all of this, the money that's allocated to us. But I don't have that today. We have just learned about this last week. So, but we'll be putting that together.
All right, thank you.
I got a quick question. One of the federal programs that's been negotiated right now is contemplates potentially free junior college for kids. So is that a good thing for Blinn or is that a bad thing for Blinn? Have you thought about it? I'm sure you have.
I haven't thought about it from the federal government. I was trying to figure out how they do it. I do know how the institutions in Texas, there are some that have been doing that for a while. Dallas County, I think, is the one that's most prevalent for the students that are in their service area. And they get such huge tax relief from revenues that come in for that they have the means to be able to take care of it through that. For us, I don't know how they use the word free. I don't know how that's free. I suspect the money will come to us.
From the federal government.
From the
I'm
federal
assuming.
government. I mean, I can't, they're not going to mandate that you just start giving your service for free
Right.
unless they're giving you some money. So I would think we would come out okay. Philosophically, I do not want to get into that piece of it. That's really not for me to decide whether it's good or bad, but there's
When
certainly
I
got to
say
be
good or
plenty
bad,
of opinions there.
I'm more financially for Blinn College. We're talking about, building buildings and things like that. And would, free junior college, would that mean we would have more kids coming to our campuses, which we would maybe need these additional buildings that we've been talking about?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I've heard the other end of the argument that you may have some students that come to you because it is free, but then they don't stay very long because it's really not for them. But they were offered it for free, so they thought it might as well take a bite of that free candy. So
The other, an obvious question related to what to what the chairman said is, we depend greatly on tuition. Would they reach some kind of medium on what they would give you in terms of reimbursement for the tuition that you currently receive? And us being on this side, maybe we'd come to this,
actually, I started to say Mr. Chairman, but Mr. Moser, I do think when you look at the state of Texas and compare our tuition and our fees, and this is universities too, compared to other states in the country, we're relatively inexpensive to compare to other institutions, other states that are out there. So it may be that, if you look at it conversely, if they're going to give this school over here some money in another state, we may actually get more as a result of it. I don't know. It's way too early for us to say how it's going to be managed.
what about that CARES funding? Is there any way the trustees get any kind?
Sir, I think it was the officers, the chairman, I think is what.
Okay, any other questions?
Chairman Kokos, I have a quick question. When you talked about the auxiliary project funding, you used the term restricted funding. Restricted funding versus dedicated funding, does that mean that we don't have any flexibility once we put it in auxiliary projects, or we just earmarking it as restricted for that?
So auxiliary money is not restricted money. Auxiliary money is money that is probably about the restricted money that you have is from the state. And you're also restricted on some of the on some other monies, because when it comes in, it's all turns a different color. But auxiliaries is probably the one that is less restricted than anything. Now, when you talk about the federal money that comes in, the federal grants, these institutional grants that are coming in, they're restricted for a certain purpose. But once you satisfy that purpose, they become unrestricted. So then it becomes your money that's available for use. So what we've strategically tried to do is to target lost revenue, because from that perspective, that money, as soon as we tell them we lost $1 million, and they give it to us, it automatically flows down to the bottom line. And it's unrestricted then. We can use it for whatever purpose we want, within reason, of course.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let us now move to item 8, the consent agenda. All items listed in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Trustees and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a trustee so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent and considered in discussion and possible action. Trustees receive agenda materials in advance of the meeting to prepare for the business to be conducted.
I move approval.
Been moved. Is there a second? Ms. Bain, all in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Consent agenda is approved unanimously. Now we'll move on to the board approval and adoption of the district-wide facilities master's plan. Mr. Savanas, I think you're back on the scoop, or is it Richard, a different Richard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Hensley, members of the board. Exciting time. We've been working on the master plan, I think, for 9 months. We've had several presentations to the board, keeping you updated as we went through the process. Tonight, we had the workshop. The Gensler Group is still here if there are any last-minute questions. But I think we've got a wonderful tool that the college will have for years to come as we want to develop and still provide education for our students here at Blinn College. So with this agenda item, we're asking for the approval and adoption of the district-wide facilities master plan.
Thank you, Richard. Well, you know, being part of that project, it was a very conscientious, well thought out project. I thank Gensler for the work that they did. I think that you guys were very diligent in what you did. And, you know, just want to make it clear to the board, by approving the master's plan, that does not mean that we are bound to do everything that's in the master plan. We are just approving the master plan as it's presented to us. So I just wanted to make that clear before I receive a motion.
I move its adoption.
Then so moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please say it. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Jim, in relation to what you said, I just think as long as we keep the word report in there, keep talking about the report, that will ease our minds a little bit instead of saying we have to do it.
Right.
Make sure that stays in there.
Yes, sir. So noted. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
You think we could get them to come back a couple more times?
They're going to finally get to be rid of us. Okay, now we're going to move on to item 9B, authorization to proceed with the design for Leroy Dryer field upgrades and received a guaranteed maximum price. I believe it's Mr. Cervantes. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Hensley, members of the board. Mr. Feldhake is going to make the presentation on this agenda.
I have lost my presentation.
Help is coming.
It was on the desktop earlier. Oh, okay, sorry. Good evening, Chairman Colkhorst. I'm going to have to be very intentional about that. Dr. Hensley, members of the board, thank you so much for having me here tonight. I'm here to present to you an agenda item requesting authorization to proceed with design and receive a guaranteed maximum price for the upgrades to Leroy Dryer Field. I have a presentation here that we're going to talk about. The architects have completed their design. The construction managers put together some estimates. And we want to show you some options that have been presented and present you with a recommendation on how we could proceed with design on this project. So as I begin with the presentation, One of the items I want to bring back to our attention is the priority list. We presented a priority list in October of the various scope items that were identified in Plan North's program from last June. Those priority items included obviously a new locker room building, renovating the existing locker room building, renovating the concessions building, the restrooms, the press box, the ticket booth, as well as some other scope items that we could do in subsequent years are in our budgets, including repairs to the outfield wall and drainage, adding brick to the backstop, replacing some athletic surfaces in the bullpens, as well as replacing some seating, painting some concrete, replacing netting, adding some bird control, and sealing a concrete wall in the bleacher area. So just to remind us of what the program looked like whenever Plan North presented it, we had a new locker room building. You can see that there to the left. At that time, it included a day room, a patio that then overlooked the field, a large locker room for our players that suited the size of the team, toilets and showers, as well as a laundry room. It also included renovating the existing locker room for renovated offices, a training space, some lockers and toilets and showers. And then also it included some of those ancillary items we talked about with the concessions renovations and so forth. To remind us of what the image was that was presented at that time, again, this was a preliminary design, but this was the preliminary idea of what the building would look like at that time. After that, the board approved us to go and hire architects, to hire construction managers, which we did last fall. We've been working with them to come up with some of these options, and I'm going to present you with two options now, labeled option 2 and option 3, that come with slightly different scopes as well as slightly different price tags. The option we're looking at now, the option 2, is what came in at the board's budget. If you recall last June, the board, when we presented them with the project program, it came in at about $5.6 million. At that time, the board decided that they wanted to fund this to $2.5 million. So when we hired the architects and the construction managers, we gave them that budget to shoot for. This is the option that comes in at that budget. You can see to the left, we have a new locker room building. It has a locker room with 45 lockers that's suitable in size for our baseball team. We have the necessary toilets and showers. We also have a laundry space. See if I can get my cursor over. We also have a laundry space here to the front of the building. There's a training space towards the field side as well as the entryway. We also have a renovation to the existing locker room building. This renovation is a little bit more minimal. It's mainly finishes, repurposing the old laundry room for a head coach's office, repurposing the locker room area as a meeting room space. Again, this option comes in at our $2.5 million budget for phase 1. We also looked at a phase 2. The phase 2 includes the concessions renovation. It includes the restroom renovation, the press box renovation, the ticket booth renovation. And the phase 2 and both options we're going to present to you come in at $600,000. Again, that is just for our budgeting purposes right now for a future phase 2. This is an image that is presented for this option. You can see that this is a fairly simple aesthetic to the building. It does blend in nicely with the current drier field, but it is one of the more simple aesthetics of the looks that we're going to get in the two options we're about to present. Here's another look from the field. You can see we have also in the first phase, we are extending the dugout. We're adding some screening for the players' protection. It's actually getting slightly deeper. And you can also see kind of tucked in the background, there is field level access for mowers and other field maintenance items. There's going to be field level storage underneath the locker room building. Now I'm going to move on to our option number 3. This option captures a little bit more of the scope that was originally presented in the program. This building looks very similar. This is the new locker room building. This building looks very similar to what you just saw. However, you can also see in the upper right, not only do we have the locker room, the showers, the laundry, and the training area, we've pulled back in the day room or club room, as the designers call it, as well as a patio. This makes the building a little bit larger. The phase 2 option is about 4,200 square feet. Option 2, phase 1 is about 4,200 square feet. This option 3 is about 5,500 square feet, including the storage underneath. This option 3 comes in at about $3.3 million. Option 2 comes in at budget at 2.5 million. Option 3 with the increased scope that gets us more similar to the programming comes in at 3.3 million for the phase 1. And I've got a comparison that shows you all these numbers here shortly. Again, in this option 3, we have a little bit more of an extensive renovation in the existing locker room building. We're moving walls around. We're right sizing some of the coach's office. We're renovating the toilet room, showers, locker area. We're also providing them some conditioned storage in this space. Then you can also see further to the right, those phase 2 options for the concessions, the restrooms, ticket booth, press box. Again, this is the same price tag for the phase 2 as was shown in option 2 at the $600,000. Now we'll look at a little bit of an aesthetic. You can see the aesthetic for this option 3 is a little bit of an upgraded aesthetic. It's not quite so simple. There are some more metal panels. There are some more awning structures. So it's got an increased aesthetic. And I'll have a blow up of this coming here shortly for you to compare the option 2 and option 3 aesthetics. So here's the comparison I wanted to show you. You can see on the column to your left is our programming option. This is where we brought to you that $5.6 million price tag last summer. I've broken it down a little bit more because at the time we weren't talking about phase 1, phase 2 at the time. But to make it comparable, you can see the highlighted in yellow, we have about 4.85 million, which is a number that's comparable to the phase 1, phase 2 numbers to follow. We also have the funding column. This is what the board approved us for last summer, $2.5 million. So the option 2 brings us in with a phase 1 project at $2.5 million. So we have phase 1 for the new locker room at 4,200 square feet, and the renovation in the existing locker room comes in at $2.5 million. The phase 2 project for the press box, the concessions, the ticket booth, the restrooms is $600,000. So option 2 comes in at 3.1 million. Again, these are estimates put together by our construction manager. The first column, option 1, were the estimates put together in programming by the architect. Option 2 then comes in with a total price tag of 4.1 million. So you can see that we've designed and we've got that cost for the overall project significantly down. Option 3 gets us more of the scope and more of the aesthetic that we were hoping for in the building. Option 3 gets in more of a day room, the patio, as well as a little more field storage space and a more comprehensive renovation to the existing locker room. But it comes with the price tag of $3.3 million. So there would be needing more funding approved by the board to go to option number 3. Phase 2 of this remains the same at $600,000, meaning that the total cost for a phase 1 and phase 2 project is at $3.9 million. And if or when we decide to approve the entire project, the entire funding would be $4.9 million for the dryer field upgrades. So I mentioned to you I was going to give you a side-by-side comparison of the aesthetics. The option 2 is the $2.5 million option. You can see in the upper left-hand corner a more simplified aesthetic, but you can get that feel from the field. And then you have option 3, which is a slightly increased aesthetic. This is the $3.3 million option, slightly larger building at 5,500 square feet. In that picture in option 3, you can see where we would have a patio that would overlook the field for recruits, for dignitaries to come and watch the game. So with one other item I do want to bring to your attention, phasing of this, or the schedule of this. With the board's approval, we could proceed with design. The design would move through the summer. We would intend to bring a guaranteed maximum price back to the board at the September board meeting. That would then allow the contractors to begin construction in the October timeframe, which would allow them to begin construction just after the fall baseball season. We will still be affecting the spring of 22 baseball season. That was always part of the schedule. What we will be affecting is the competition play. We can still practice on the field, but the intrusive nature of the construction means that we couldn't have a competitive season on the field. We've looked into other options of playing games here locally, maybe at Fireman's Park. We've talked with the city. That schedule aligns fairly well. There are a few conflicts that we could work through, so we have some interesting options. But with that said, we would be finishing up construction next August in time for us to begin playing baseball again in the fall of 22 season. So with that, I want to propose that we, based on the architect's schematic design, the CMAR's estimate and the master plan document, which this is included in the master plan document, the administration recommends that the board authorize the administration to proceed with design and receive a guaranteed maximum price for the Phase 1 dryer field upgrades, option number 3, on the Blinn Brenham campus with a budget of $3.3 million.
Mark, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
In the option 3, you mentioned that there was more extensive work potentially to be able to be done in the old coaches locker room area than in option 2. Is that right? Or what
Yes,
do we do?
option 2 is a more minimal renovation. It is mainly putting better finishes in, replacing some carpet, repainting some walls, adjusting finishes, and then repurposing the locker room. Whenever we move the locker room into the new building, we'll take the old lockers out. We'll put in some new finishes so that they can use that space as a meeting room. And then the laundry room is basically an unfinished space. We would repurpose that, put in some new finishes, put in some new connectivity for use as the head coach's office.
So in option 3, what's anticipated? What'll be done?
We would actually be clearing more out. We would be moving walls, right sizing the
Would that be
coach's
the
office.
coaches' offices then?
It's still coaches' offices. It's just a more extensive renovation, a better renovation as opposed to a repurposing.
Did you show those floor plans?
Yes, sir. So you want to see the main building floor plan, or
Right there, so that's.
this is option 2.
Let me ask you, that landscape area between the locker room and where the bleachers are, what is that?
This is just a grass area right now.
So there would be grass areas still there after
Correct.
this part?
Correct.
Okay, well, I know a lot of people like that. I don't like it because we don't have people coming into our games. They're all sitting outside watching the game from out there. And I'd prefer to have, if we had nice seating, right? To have them come into the stadium and watch the game from inside.
One item we have done to control that hill is we are adding a fence and a gate to this area so that this is not publicly accessible any longer.
Okay. I got you.
One item you'll notice in this view, this is the location of the light pole, the light standard that covers the field. And from a constructability standpoint, that causes us some concern and some difficulties to build too close to that light pole, as well as the idea of moving that light pole could become very problematic.
Could you now show option 3?
Yes, sir. I don't have a view of the option 3 new locker room and existing locker room together, but I can jump back and forth. That just wasn't a plan that was developed by the architects.
So where's the coach's office here?
So the head coach would be here in this corner, which is currently a locker room and shower, or it's their shower area.
All right.
This would be another assistant coach's office. This is an assistant coach's office. This is a more thorough renovation to the existing toilet and shower room. In the phase 2 option, we're basically leaving that toilet as is. It would cost us significantly to begin taking out the tile and replacing the fixtures. This option 3 would be removing the fixtures, removing the tile, refinishing that space, and adding the shower into this area. We would also be creating a conditioned storage space that the coaches could use.
You still have the green space, so then.
Correct.
That's
There's
what I'm
still a
looking at.
green space on this option as well. It's
It's
slightly,
smaller?
it's a little smaller because the green space is the club room and the patio are taking up some of the green space.
But where does that light post?
That
go?
light post, it should be
Going?
sitting
Right there.
right in here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What's the current seating capacity and what will it be? We did phase 3.
We would not be changing necessarily the bleacher capacity in this project. I do not happen to know the seating capacity offhand. Richard, would you happen to know? Yes, sir, 626, we believe. Thank you.
Show those 2 elevations one more time, the difference between the 2.
Side-by-side views?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So option 2 is the view from the field for the smaller locker room at the 2.5 million, and option 3 is the larger locker room because of the day room, the patio, for $3.3 million.
Big difference.
Can I ask just a question? And I'm not that knowledgeable, but I know they have there's a lot of players over there. You know, I know a lot of them are all these red shirt guys or whatever they call them. And are they gonna, I mean, is this accommodating all of those people, or is that in this dressing room, or how do you,
I believe, and I would need Coach McIntyre to correct me if I'm not completely accurate. I believe the 45 players is the active roster. I believe that they have an extra.
There's more, but they wouldn't
be there?
be in there. Yeah.
So is this, I mean, this is pretty firm, the cost you got on these?
Well, again, these are estimates right now. This isn't the guaranteed maximum price, but this is based on the designs that the architects have developed and the numbers that the construction managers have put together for us. These are our best numbers currently.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. I know I don't like to spend money. Y'all know I don't like to spend a lot of money, but in listening to this, the second phase is reflected at $600,000.
Yes, sir.
We're spending 3.3 already. Why not go back to them and say, let's just do the whole thing, and you're not going over the top of something again, and we might get a better price on the 600. I mean, it's just when you're looking at the dollars you're spending and what you're left over to spend, it might be a better utilization of time and effort and everything else.
I agree. I mean, you can often save money by doing more in one project than piecemealing it. So, I mean, there's a possibility when you guys go get your guaranteed maximum price. I mean, it's possible you could save some money.
Do you think they could still give us a guaranteed maximum price on doing phase 1 and phase 2 as a total project by the time you're talking about?
I believe so. That's a fairly simplistic design as far as the renovations, but I believe that they could still meet in that time frame.
So was option 2, turn this on, was option, because I wasn't here when this started. apparently.
No problem.
So the 2 million was what the board agreed to fund
Correct.
originally?
Correct. We presented a program at 5.6 and the board approved to fund 2.5 million and to choose from priority list of items.
So option 2 addresses that funding,
Correct.
but now we have option 3 that is however much over.
We were always gonna do
Okay,
the phase 2, which was concessions and bathrooms and all that stuff, but that was just not gonna be in that first 2.5 million that we spent.
but basically we're asking for 800,000 more now. Is that what I'm reading into this? And then I get what you're saying, go ahead and do it all as one big project if it's just 600,000.
Well, but if you look at the program option 1, it was $5.6 million total.
Right.
If you do the total now, it's 4.9, so it's less, and you get it done over with at one time.
So that's what I guess the original question was. So it was 5.6 million
That's what
originally.
That's what we based we're only gonna
Just a
do 2.5
guess.
million. Yeah, as a
Okay.
guess.
Right.
That's the reason we wouldn't fund the whole thing, you know. we want to
At one time.
But I do think we need to premise that upon Coach McIntyre getting a national championship within 2 years after it's complete.
No pressure.
I don't know if he's on, but
I have another question. Mark, I hate to keep harping on this, but if you'll go back to the diagrams, you can go back to that other one, actually, the field level. So one of the big, well, I guess that where we're side by side, one of the big differences is that porch on phase 3. How much is that adding to the cost? Because apparently that's going to be separate from the coach's office, which I think you probably need that to build out the old dressing room, but is that porch?
So
I mean, I don't understand that spot. I mean, it's a foul ball haven right there, and hopefully there's not an overthrow third because that window's going to get broken. But
Well, we're still going to have to put some netting and some protection up around that. That's a difficult thing to show on a rendering, but there
Yeah.
will need to be some protection there for anybody that's up on that porch.
for reference, is that orange?
Yes, sir. I
That's that
right there?
yes,
Okay.
the orange area here is the porch, and then this would be the day room
I'm
behind
not
it.
quite sure I understand what the need is for that orange area right there.
That was something that whenever we put the program together was requested as a desirable element from a recruiting standpoint, from having maybe dignitaries come and watch a game. So that's how we moved into these two options. Obviously, that's really the crux of the difference between the option 2 and the option 3 for the main locker room building.
I have an unrelated question. How is the, you may not be able to answer this, but is the thing that inside practice thing that was built a couple of years ago,
Doyle Coatney Center?
is it being utilized?
Yes, sir.
Question is the Coatney Center being utilized? Very much so.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Mark, if you'd go back to the slide perhaps for the financial comparison again. In light of what Trustee Bohart said, one option you could consider tonight is not the motion that's been presented, but perhaps you might want to do something along these lines, that the board directs the administration to proceed with the next steps, not to exceed 4.9 million. That would get you a cap on it that we would not go beyond. Would that be helpful at all, Mark?
That would be
And then
very
you could
helpful.
go ahead and present it as both phase 1 and phase 2 and see if we get a better price in working with the CMAR for both at the same time.
If Mr. Bohart make that as a motion,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
at the
sir.
request of Mr. Mosier, I would like to make a motion that we, I don't know if you amend the recommendation would be the proper way to do it, but that we amend the recommendation to consider incorporating both project phase 1 and phase 2 together, but not spending more than $4.9 million on the total project.
I've heard a motion. Got a second.
Hold it.
There's a second right here.
Hold it.
Mr. Kraus,
Mr.
we got everybody trying to second. that.
Mr. Chairman, can I just clarify that motion a little bit
Yes.
further? What we're looking for here is authorization to proceed with the design for Leroy Drive Field upgrades, option 3, receive a guaranteed maximum price not to exceed $4.9 million, and that would combine both phase 1 and phase 2 into one project.
That is how
That's exactly what I meant
understood
to
it.
say.
That's how I understood it. And I think Dr. Krausen seconded that. Is there any further discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all very much.
I will, Mr. Chairman, I think we had more discussion on this than we did when we built that $30 million.
Yes, now we're going to move to item number 9C, approval of naming of the livestock annex building on the Blinn Brenham campus. Mr. Schubert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Trustees, Dr. Hensley, we have some more exciting news about facilities and naming. I recently came and we discussed the science building naming. We're now here on the livestock annex. We are blessed at Blinn College to have wonderful facilities that are state-of-the-art, both current and oncoming facilities. I will also say we're also blessed to have a wonderful partner in the Blinn College Foundation. They're the ones that are going out and beating the bushes and getting these donors and getting them lined up to do these naming rights. We're very thankful for that. We work great in tandem with the foundation and you see results from them. Last month it was science building. This month is livestock annex. Trustees, just a quick reminder, as you know, when we design a new building, we come up with a price sheet and that details the overall naming rights and also individual areas of the building. For the livestock annex, the overall naming rights was $375,000. We are proud to come and say that the foundation has secured a pledge from James F. and Ann Gardner Ahrens for that naming right. Ann Gardner Ahrens is directly related, as you know, to the Willow Springs Ranch near Burton. She's one of the direct descendants of the owners of that, the founders of that. And so they have pledged to name the livestock annex in honor of Ann Gardner. The college has already received $100,000 of this donation, and there's a payment plan that the Ahrens have set up that'll be going over a couple more years, 4 more years after this payment to then pay for all of that. So what we're looking for tonight is not only an acceptance of that gift, but also a motion to grant the naming rights, which is the sole authority of the board, to name the livestock annex as the Ann Gardner Livestock Annex. I'll stand for any questions.
I would move, this to happen because, I don't know how many people remember the Gardeners, but they were certainly big supporters of agriculture in this county. Dr. Gardner was from Houston, but he had a place out in the,
Burton Greenvine area.
so, and he still has some family here. I move acceptance of that.
Got a motion?
Mr. Chairman, it is my honor to second that motion as I ran across Dr. Gardner's property out there as a youngster for many, many years. So I know the place and I know the family very well. So it's an honor to second that motion.
Very good. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. And again, thank you to the foundation for finding those folks for us and getting that done. Thank you. Okay, we're going to now move to item number 9D, approval and ratification of the real estate purchase agreement. Mr. Cervantes, I believe you're up on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Hensley, members of the board. The administration is seeking ratification of a past action associated with the $2.1 million purchase of property on the Bryan campus. We did adhere to the board's policy associated with purchasing, but wanted to have a little discussion about it to kind of show the board what we had done in terms of the budget in particular. So this is actually a pie chart that we showed along with our financial presentation back in December. On the bottom left, you'll see a property purchases that we had moved out or made it available to be spent from the capital projects and deferred maintenance reserve. And this was part of the discussion with the board. And then in January, the same pie chart, you'll see that $2 million is gone because we purchased the property. On that same report in January, on the bottom of the statement of budgeted revenues and expenditures, you would see the Bryan campus property purchase, the $2.1 million. And if you look at today's report, the April report that you have received, and every report since that January report, that same statement will have the same amount that's in there. If you look even further back in January and look at the check register that we provide to the board with our financial reports, you would also see the purchase of that property, $2 million on that check register also. So Mr. Chairman, I wanted to make tell the board that from our perspective, as we've reviewed the policy, we did conform with the board policy, but we would intend to expand on that process. If need be, we have some ideas to make it even more transparent, and we're willing to do that. We'll do that in the future. But for the moment, we're just needing a approval and ratification of the real estate purchase agreement. I'll stand for any questions.
Great, thank you so much. And you know, I know most of you guys remember all of the discussion that surrounded that Bryan property purchase. So I am open for a motion to accept that.
I move that we ratify the action of acquiring the acreage in Bryan as per outlined by the
Motion made by Mr. Mosier.
Second. Rebecca can
We're
have
going to go with Ms. Aylert tonight. Second by Ms. Aylert. Any discussion further? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move to item number 9E, the authorization for the administration to negotiate and execute a contract for the purchase of computer equipment for the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Innovation Building on the Brenham campus. Mr. Cervantes, like marked up. Thank you.
Good evening again, Chairman Cole, of course, Dr. Hensley, members of the board. I'm here to present to you what is our final agenda item for an FF&E purchase for the STEI building. This would be that the board authorize the administration to negotiate and execute a contract with Dell Technologies for the purchase of computer equipment for the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Innovation building on the Blinn Brenham campus. And on May 3rd, we received a proposal from Dell through a state interlocal cooperative agreement to purchase all of the computers, laptops, computer storage carts for the STEI building. That quote is within our budget, and those funds are available through that 2019 series bond funds. So this should be our last FF&E purchase for the STEI building. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Good. Board, any questions? Then I stand ready for a motion to accept.
I so move authorization for the administration to negotiate and execute a contract for the purchase of computer equipment for the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Innovation building.
I'll
Very good.
second.
Thank you. Seconded by the Reverend. Thank you so much. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mark. Okay, the board will now convene in executive session under sections 551.071 and 552.072 at 7:10 p.m.